Chibi, say hi to the camera. Hi. Hey guys, today we're going to share some of our favorite long-lasting chews for dogs. Some of Kokoro and Chibi's favorite edible chews, non-edible chews, things to keep them occupied for long periods of time. Chewing is a really good way to get energy out for them. It's stimulating. For me, I always keep a bag of chews, both edible and non-edible, if I'm at the office, or we always have a jar of them here at home so that we can keep the dogs occupied. It's important to not give them too many edible chews in one day, especially if you have a smaller dog like this one. Too many chews or too much fat content, which is often found in a lot of the edible chews, can upset their stomachs. So let's take a look at what chews we got. This is our jar of chews that we have here at home. It's important for us to keep these in a jar and not in a bag because Chibi is a master of mischief and will often open the bags if we're not home. So the first item I'm going to show you guys is a bully stick. So bully sticks, they're edible, they're really stinky. On occasion, you can find a nice brand that has less stinky or odorless bully sticks. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes. The typical one that we get for our dogs is about 5 or 6 inches long, medium thickness, about 3/4 of an inch, and it lasts them a pretty good amount of time. They smell really bad, which means the dogs actually really love them. I've almost never met a dog that doesn't like a bully stick. If you have a larger dog, it's really important to make sure that they don't choke on it, especially when it gets shorter and comes to the end. Again, monitoring your dog when they're chewing for safety reasons is really important. A word of warning, they do smell worse as the dogs chew them longer. So this is usually not something I like to bring to the office if there are other people around. It's a good chew to have for them when you're at home, and it's super important to always monitor them when they're chewing. Just the stick itself for my dogs, who are both about 18-20 pounds, they can get through it in a good 20-30 minutes. It depends on how strong of a chewer you have. Chibi destroys these. She absolutely inhales them and probably in about 15 minutes can finish one. Kokoro is a more slow chewer, so for her, just the stick alone can last 30-40 minutes. One trick that we discovered that we like to use to make these last even longer, this is a handy dandy toy from JW Pets that we found a few years ago, and they're actually perfectly shaped almost for bully sticks. So all you gotta do is insert the bully stick into the toy. The toy has a bunch of holes in it that are perfectly positioned so that you can get the stick from one end through to the other, and it sort of creates this casing for the bully stick, which makes it harder for the dog to get to it. And for Kokoro, we found that this lasts over the course of a few days. Chibi's able to work through it within one day, but it really extends the life of the bully stick. And we all know these bully sticks are kind of expensive, so this is a really good way to keep the dogs busy for longer. The next type of chew that's our favorite is a cow hoof. And so these come both empty like this one. You can also find filled hooves at pet stores. They're often filled with peanut butter or some other sort of soft inside that the dogs really like. So the hoof itself doesn't really smell that bad when you take it out and it's new. But again, just like the bully sticks, the longer they chew them, the more they kind of smell. With the hooves, you should be careful because they are a harder item, much harder than the bully sticks. Your dog should not be able to ingest this in one sitting. And you also should be careful to make sure that they're not chewing too hard or too aggressively, because these sometimes have caused dogs to chip their teeth. So make sure that your dogs have healthy teeth and they're strong. Check with your vet before you give them a harder chew like a hoof. Another edible chew that we really like to give our dogs is a trachea. So this is what it looks like. It's a trachea from a cow, and usually we like to give them things that are natural, part of actual animals. We don't really like to give artificially created edible chews, so tracheas are another good option, albeit a little bit scary looking. So these also come in a bunch of different sizes. We've given these, which are about 6 inches long. They also make half the size, so they're about 3 inches long, depending on how big your dog is, how much you want to give them. Another trick with these is filling them almost like a Kong. So you can sort of fill the inside with frozen peanut butter, frozen treats, and the whole thing is edible and will last a long time for them. Okay, next we have Himalayan dog chews or yaki chews. These are cheese essentially. The way that they're made is they're dehydrated for a really long period of time over the course of a few weeks. Traditionally I think it was like Himalayan yak's milk, but now they make a lot of these with cheese and they're super hard. You can't bend them or break them with just your hands, which is really nice for durability. These last a really long time for my dogs. Usually my dogs can't get through one of these in a day. They last over the course of a few days, which is really nice. You can also find Himalayan dog chew holders similar to the JW pet toy. The really cool thing about these Himalayan chews is when it gets really small, like the last 1 or 2 inches, one, you have to be careful that your dog doesn't choke on them, especially if it's a bigger dog, but you can pop that last little bit into the microwave and it'll sort of puff up like a hard marshmallow. So it adds an extra layer of variation for your dog and also prevents them from choking on the last little bit. You can find these in all different sizes. This one is about 3 inches long, but they have 6-inch long, like bigger chews, especially for the bigger dogs. So make sure you get the right size depending on how big your dog is. So we've talked a lot about edible chews. Like I mentioned earlier, it's really important to make sure you're not giving too much of an edible chew, especially if you have a smaller dog and they're not eating that much food. Too many chews sometimes can upset a dog's stomach. So for our dogs, who are about 20 pounds each, we sort of limit the edible chews to 1 every other day or 1 every 2 days. It depends on how fatty they are. You can sort of gauge how well your dog responds to the edible chews. A lot of dogs have stronger stomachs, like Chibi can take more edible chews, whereas Kokoro has a more sensitive stomach, and so we have to give her more non-edible chews. Our favorite non-edible chews are Bones. And so you might have seen these before. You can buy them in your local pet store or even on Amazon. So we really like these because they only have 2 ingredients. They're essentially nylon and whatever the flavoring is. So real bacon, real peanuts. They come in all sorts of shapes. So this is their original shape. It's a wishbone shape. All of the shapes are ergonomically designed, and so they're specifically curved and shaped so that your dog, who doesn't have opposable thumbs, can hold on to it easily. Kokoro loves these. We discovered them a few years ago, and she's an avid chewer of Bones. This one is a dental chew. It has a bunch of different ridges on it, so it's really good for cleaning the teeth. It's really important to know that these are not edible. So these are made of nylon. They're not meant to be ingested. Nylon in small quantities, when accidentally ingested, is not a big problem. It'll just pass through your dog's stomach, but make sure they're not taking big chunks off and swallowing them whole. So for these, it's really important to look at the packaging, get the right sizing for your dog's weight, and also follow the wear and tear of it. So as your dog is chewing, little pieces will start to come off, and make sure you throw them away when it's time to go. These chews last about 1 month. So you don't really need to replace them that often. The nice thing is they're flavored. Even though we can't really smell it ourselves, when the dogs smell it, they know that it's flavored. They also make them for puppies. So these chews are adult chews, and they really should be for dogs who are 6 months and older, who have healthy teeth that are strong, that can withstand chewing a durable chew like this. They also make puppy ones. It's marked with the word puppy for dogs who are really tiny or new dogs, puppies with baby teeth that are. So these chews are a little bit softer than their adult chews. So that's all we've got to share for our favorite long-lasting chews. There are a ton out there, obviously. These are just our favorites, especially for Kokoro and Chibi for their size. For 20-pound dogs, they seem to last a really long time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.